South Africa Today by Jacob Yske's Første C. Since the implementation of democracy in South Africa in 1994, the country has seen many improvements. One of these improvements is that the gross domestic product, the GDP, has increased with around $300 billion, and the GDP per capita has increased with about 40%. This is also demonstrated on the bar graph I have right here. The GDP is a way to measure a specific country's wealth, and the GDP per capita is a way of measuring the wealth of the individual inhabitant in a specific country, and in this instance, it's South Africa. The fact that the GDP per capita has increased with such a big percentage means that it's easier to commit social mobility. With other words, it's easier to move from a lower society class to a higher society class. About 20% of the South African population has within the last 20 years moved from the lower class to the middle class. And that is of course very good news. Even though these numbers sound really good, South Africa still has to face problems such as poverty, crime, inequality, and unemployment. One of the biggest problems is the large unemployment rate in South Africa. Since 1994, the unemployment rate has increased with about 4%, as you can see from the other bar graph I have down here. The red bar, as you can see down here, is the unemployed workers who are willing to work but currently aren't working. The gray bar is the broad definition of an unemployed worker, and this includes people who have totally given up on looking for work. The largest concentration of unemployed workers is among black people under the age of 35. They have experienced a turbulent time right before the implementation of democracy in 1994, where they were oppressed by the white people, and they had no rights to, for example, attend school and so on. And that is the reason why this specific demographic group has a hard time finding a job, because they have no qualifications at all, and therefore they are simply unemployable. BBC has conducted 8 interviews with 8 ordinary inhabitants of South Africa, and almost all of them have the same opinions about South Africa. They are very happy about the changes that has been introduced, but common for them all is that they say that there is still a lot of room for improvements. A young man called Sifiwe Mthembu told BBC that he hasn't attended school since 5th grade because his family ran out of money, and now he has nowhere to go and he has no skill set to get a job anywhere. Also, his mom is also currently unemployed. And it's of course a problem that it's so easy to drop out of the educational system like that. But luckily, the South African government is aware of this problem, and actually 7% of the GDP and 20% of the total state expenditure goes to improving the educational system, and that is more than they spend on any other sector in the country. Another one of the interviewed inhabitants is David Romano, and he is a primary school teacher in Gauteng, South Africa. He tells us that the main story for him, that the main worry for him is crime. Some time ago, thieves broke into his house and stole expensive things. He is concerned for his children's welfare, and the expenses to buy an alarm and repair damages has almost economically ruined him. He also went to the police with this case, but with a murder rate of around 49 homicides a day in South Africa, the police probably were too busy to help him. As mentioned before, many things have improved in South Africa, and that is also the case when it comes to equality. South Africa's Bill of Rights from 1994 secured equal rights to blacks as well as whites. But the legacy of apartheid has scarred deeply into the minds of the blacks, and apartheid will most definitely never be forgotten.